This integrity session is for Spanish 101 web-based courses. This lesson is from lesson 4. We're talking today about E to IE stem changes. On pages 129 and 130 in your book, it talks about the stem changes. On page 130 is the list of the stem changing verbs. And on page 130, you've got a list of 8 verbs. We're going to talk about the first couple in that list. The first one is the verb cerrar. It means to close. And the second verb that we're going to be talking about is the verb querer. Querer means to want, and it can also mean to love. Alright, what a stem changing verb is a regularly conjugated verb with the endings. What I mean by that is that cerrar is an AR verb. So we're going to use the AR verb endings that we learned previously. The verb querer is an ER verb, so we're going to use that one with ER endings that we learned previously. What a stem changing verb does, differently than a regular verb, however, is that the E in the stem of the verb, that one right there, and in querer, this E right here, what you're going to do when you conjugate it is you're going to change that E to an IE. So the verb cerrar in the yo form is going to look like this. C-I-E-R-R-O. O for the yo form ending, the E changed to an IE. In the to form, it's going to be cierras. And in the él, ella, and usted, cierra. In the nosotros form, in the entire stem changing verb lists, the nosotros form does not have a stem change. So that verb just goes back to its regular form, cerramos. There's no E to IE. But then cierran for the ellos, ellas, and ustedes goes back to a stem change. So what we've done in all forms, except for the nosotros, is we've taken the E out and we've changed it to an IE. We're going to do the same thing with the verb querer. This is an ER verb, so we're going to put ER endings on it, but we're also going to take that E and change it to an IE. So that verb is going to be Q-U-I-E-R-O. The to form is going to be Q-U-I-E-R-E-S, quieres. Then quiere. But again, the nosotros form does not have a stem change, so it's just queremos. And then the last stem change is quieren. Alright. 2 other verbs that are in the list. Let me show you those right quick. The verbs preferir and the verb entender. Preferir meaning to prefer. Entender meaning to understand. These are also stem changing verbs. We're going to take off the ER, and right here we're going to take off the IR, and we're going to put the respective endings on. But if you look after we take the ER and the IR off, the stem of the verb has 2 E's. That one has an E there, and then preferir has 2 E's. The rule for stem changing verbs is that if the stem of the verb has 2 E's, then you do the stem change on the second E. So when we conjugate this verb, it's going to look like this. It's going to be prefiero, F-I-E-R-O. This one's going to be entiendo, E-N-T-I-E-N-D-O. Then prefieres, and then entiendes, and then prefiere, entiende. So we've done again what we did up here at the top. We took the second E, however, and did the stem change instead of the first. In the nosotros form, there is no stem change, so it's just preferimos. No E to IE. This one is going to be entendemos. And then it's prefieren and entienden. And again, this one doesn't have a stem change, which is in a nosotros form. All the others do have stem changes. Alright, let's look at one more verb in the list, the verb pensar. Pensar is an AR verb. It means to think. When you conjugate this verb, we're going to take out the E, change it to an IE. So this one is going to be P-I-E-N-S-O, pienso. The to form is going to be piensas, piensa. But then again, we have that nosotros form with no stem change. Pensamos. And then the last one is going to be piensan. Alright, the question comes up often, how do you know if a verb is stem changing? And the answer is that you do not know whether a verb is stem changing. What you have to do is memorize the stem changing verbs. If you look up a verb in a Spanish book, in the dictionary, etc., most verbs, if they're stem changing, it's going to look like this. It's going to have the verb, and then it's going to have your stem change in parentheses after it, E to IE. And that will let you know that you need to stem change that verb. However, if you just come across the verb, or you find the verb and you need to use it, you will not know whether it has a stem change unless you memorize the stem changing verbs. And again, the ones that we're talking about in this book, the first sets are listed on page 130, and then you have a third set, I think, that's listed on page 133. Yes, they're listed on 133. Alright, let's do one last one. We'll do the verb perder. Alright, we have to drop off the ER to put the ER verb endings on the end. We're going to take that E out, and we're going to change it to an IE. This verb, by the way, means to lose. The yo form is pierdo. That's I lose. The to form is pierdes. You lose. The él and ella is pierde. That's he, she, or you formal, lose. Again, the nosotros form does not have a stem change, so it is perdemos. But then the last one goes back and does stem change, and it is the verb pierden. Alright, this concludes the E to IE stem changing integrity session.